Hi, this is the first of a two-part revision session on phonological devices, something that can be identified in particularly poetry, but also non-fiction and media and also prose works. This session we're going to take a look at assonance. First of all, when exploring assonance, you need to recognise that it's focused on vowels. And we can look at the two types of vowels, the short vowel and the long vowel. Short vowels being a, e, I, o, u, and the long vowels a, e, I, o, u. So assonance is just the repetition of vowel sounds within different words that are close together. The important thing to recognise with all of these phonological devices is that it's all about the sound and it's not about the letters. So that, for example, I picked a pine wouldn't be assonance because the short I isn't repeated in the long I. Pick, pie. Whereas here I picked a pin, I. Repeated sound, repeated vowel sound, therefore assonance. I'm going to try and explore the significance of assonance within the context of a single poem. And for this one I've picked A Rose for Janet. I haven't actually picked it, but that's the one we're going for. I know this rose is only an ink and paper rose, but see how it grows and goes on growing. So just the first stanza. And in terms of that, we have quite a bit of assonance of the long O. I know this rose is only an ink and paper rose, but see how it grows and goes on growing. So we can hear that long O sound being repeated across the first stanza. The important thing for us though, when we're analysing poetry or any other medium, is what's the effect of it? And I think there are a number of possible areas that we could look at. The ones we're going to focus on are the sound, the pattern of assonance, and the link between phonology and semantics. Let's break those down a little bit. First of all, sound. Is the sound hard or soft? You need to think about the quality of the particular vowel that you're dealing with. So that, for example, short vowels tend to be quite hard, long vowels tend to be quite soft. So if you hear them, those, let's take the long vowels first of all, A, E, I, they're drawn out and that gives them a quite soft quality. Whereas the short vowels, A, E, I, O, U, they have that kind of grunty shortness that makes them quite aggressive, quite hard and harsh. So one of the things you could look out for is what quality do they have? Are they hard? Are they soft? And then consider whether that's significant given the line of poetry or the particular section of text that you're looking at. Next, does the sound have a particular relevant quality? For example, if you have the poet or the author describing a section where there's uncertainty, or if there's a violent action taking place, does the assonance represent that? Does it complement it? So, for example, you could have a short O representing a gasp, O. If it's in the position where it's describing a violent action taking place, then there may be that sound complementing, reinforcing, justifying and making it very visceral what's taking place. The pattern of assonance is also significant. You need to consider how frequently the assonance is used. If it's one word after another, or even more than once within a single word, then that's going to seem much more insistent than if it takes place in one word and then, 2 words later it appears again. So that can make it either insistent or quite gentle and subtle. You should also consider whether that quality of the sound that we've already referred to complements the structure. For example, those long vowels might slow down the pace of the particular section of text. Short vowels could increase the pace. And finally, consider where the assonance is used. For example, if again the assonance is close together, could it suggest a degree of intimacy? Again, you'll need to think about what's being described at this point. If the assonance is quite distant, could that represent distance in the meaning as well? And that leads us into this link between phonology and semantics. Could the assonance actually join 2 words that might otherwise seem a little bit unrelated because of the repetition of the vowel sound? And does the assonance complement or undermine the effect of the words that are used. So that, for example, if you had something like, I hit it, that short I sound might capture the sense of a short, sharp punch. I hit it. Whereas if you want a less aggressive one, you might choose a longer vowel sound or no assonance at all. So if we go back to the poem that we were dealing with, I'd just like to look at a couple of possible interpretations on the basis of what we've just been looking at. First of all, in terms of the sound. The sound's quite soft. Go back to it again. I know this rose is only... It's that long O sound, isn't it? Quite soft sound. Perhaps that represents the gentle emotions that are being conveyed in the poem. It's also a long O that could phonologically represent a sense of awe. Oh. The pattern, very frequent use of assonance here, perhaps representing the depth of the emotion. It's going on and on and on. And finally, the link between the semantics and the phonology. Well, there's an awful lot of focus on growth in this opening stanza. Perhaps you could argue that the repeated use of assonance could represent that continuance, that growth that's being referred to through that the denotation of the word growth. So just taking assonance, you could come up with quite a detailed section of analysis on the opening of a stanza that will be really comprehensive and really compelling if you can make the link between the way in which the sounds are used and the meaning of the poem or text that you're dealing with. Okay, thanks.